Well, they say nothing lasts forever, and that sentiment holds true at this moment as I announce that my infamous Redwald studio that has appeared in about 150 YouTube episodes has to go. Yes, I have to tear down my studio. Well, yes, it's true. I have to tear down my studio. But it's time that I stop putting up this act, because it's actually not bad news. We bought a new house. Yes, my boys are eating me out of house and home. We decided to make a decision for our family to get something a little bigger and a little nicer neighborhood. But certainly having a home studio is important to me, as it's a big part of what I do here. And while I do have to say goodbye to this studio, I'm really excited about the prospects for my new studio. There's a great space set aside for me. I've got a couple weeks of construction to do to get it ready. And so there's going to be a little disruption to the channel here, but that's a good thing, because what I'm going to do is I want to publish a series of studio vlogs just to document the process, really just to bridge the time from here to there. But I thought it would be a rare opportunity to show you guys a dismantling of a studio, planning for my next setup, building it and getting it all in place. I thought that would be a lot of fun, and like I said, a real rare opportunity to do that. So that's what's going to be happening here on The Lonely Rocker for the next several weeks, 2-3 weeks tops, but I want to take you through that process. Now there's what I consider three tiers of home studios. And it's funny what they call the home studio today. I mean, you can have a laptop in your bedroom and call it a studio. Hey, if you're making music, it's great. I'll call that tier 1. This I would call tier 2. A bit more of an investment was made, a dedicated space, got some good wall treatment here, and the volume of gear certainly increased. It's a full production studio. We'll call that tier 2. Tier 3, I would say, is a full-blown studio, proper soundproofing and everything in place. We're not quite going tier 3. We're going to stick in the tier 2, but there's still some things to set up. So, like I said, I want to reflect on this space, talk about the things that I really loved about this studio and all the things I've learned. But there was a couple things that were really frustrating, that were really impeding me from being truly efficient, and really behind the scenes, it was just something driving me crazy. And it's definitely 2 things I'm going to rectify in the new space. So we're going to talk about that. The next episode of this vlog series, I will introduce the space as it is now. And coming up, we're going to be dismantling the studio, and I'm going to be talking about my plans and how I plan to organize that. So these are the things that are coming up in the next couple days or so, or a couple weeks, I should say. But why don't we start here and take a look at the old studio, look at what was, and some plans for the future. So as I have known actually for a little while that we bought the new house, and as we've gotten closer to the date, we actually took possession of the house yesterday. We're still here. We're sort of got a bit of a crossover, but we have started the process of packing, and what you don't see is the chaos that's been forming on the other side of the camera. And if you look at the last couple of videos, the shots are getting tighter and tighter as I've had to move the camera in to sort of keep away from that mess over there. I'll give you a little peek of it over there. It's terrible, but I'm pulling things out of closets and storage and stuff, and getting ready to pack those up. But I wanted to keep the studio functional as I do crossover, because in the new space I have a little bit of work to do. I don't want to reveal the big challenge that I have over there, or maybe I will. So believe it or not, the space where I'm going to be setting up my studio, there's a in there. I kid you not, and it's actually a nice one too, and I got to pull it out of there. I mean, it served the function of the last family that lived there, but for me it's just in the way, so it's gotta go. Anyways, enough about the new studio. Let's reminisce a little bit about this studio. Now, if you're looking to build a home studio, I'm just going to share some of my experiences, and hopefully there's some things that'll resonate with you, that'll help you along in your journey, because ultimately that's why I do what I do. So when I built this space, I wasn't really thinking home studio per se. I mean, I've been recording at home for years, just capturing ideas, but never, the thought of wanting to do it sort of professionally, or really, learn how to mix properly, until one day, once I actually built this room, and it was more as a video studio. But I had a track that I had started working on, and I just wanted to do it better and wanted to hear it better. So I ended up buying some better speaker monitors and a new audio interface. Well, that started to spiral, as we all know. We call it the old rabbit hole. And then next thing you know, I'm looking up acoustic panels and then desktop controllers and better interface and more amplifiers and plugins. And, well, we all know how that goes. But let's talk about a couple things that just haven't worked for me here, and some things that you don't see. I mean, I want the studio to look good on camera, and I keep this area clean best I can. But behind this camera here has been a big problem for me since the day I started, because I wanted to keep the room big, so I sort of refused to put any closet space in here. And really, that's just resulted in a big mess hiding at the back of the room here. I mean, I could have put a nice big closet along the back wall. Yes, I would have lost some square footage in the room, but I could have hidden all of this extra junk that just comes out every time I shoot a video, put it behind the closet there. Would have helped me keep this room a lot more organized, and I just didn't do it. I was thinking in terms of space. I thought I was going to share the space as a kind of a rec room at the time. Like I said, it wasn't really thinking home studio. I've cleaned this room like thoroughly, like organized it like 3-4 times just to, okay, this is it. And within a week or two, it just fell apart because I didn't have a place to put things. Now, whether you're in a basement studio, a bedroom studio, in your kitchen, I think the best piece of advice I can give is think in terms of scale. You know, your studio is your studio, it's your workspace, and it needs to work for you. If all you have is a bedroom to work in, then make it work, but sort of grow everything proportionally. You know, if you just stuff all kinds of gear in there, and if it has nowhere to go, it just becomes a crazy mess. And when you're not organized, it's hard to be creative. Like for me, I want to come in, I want to spark up the room, turn on the lights, shoot my videos, create some music. I don't want to think about all the other things that sort of get in the way, and a lot got in the way here in terms of just having things all over the place or having to reconfigure for a particular project. So if you're in, let's say, a bedroom studio, think in terms of storage. You can get some trays maybe you can put under your bed, or reserve a section of your closet for all your gear, and sort of scale proportionately and make sure that you have room to put things away, because it seems like, okay, it's common sense, but the truth is we get lost in that. I mean, some of us, I admire the ones who are super organized all the time. That's not me. I need a place to put everything, or it just ends up on the floor, it drapes over the edge of the couch or things like that, and it's just been a nightmare for me. So number one, think in terms of organization. Even if you got just a laptop at the corner of your bed, you're going to be bringing in cables, microphones, and other things. If you're a guitar player, you're going to have accessories and things like that. So scale proportionally to the room that you're in. And then if you want to get more gear and more gear, think in terms of growth. Move into a dedicated room, and as you grow, that's just the nature of the beast of the studio. But without some kind of solution for organization, for me, it got worse and worse and worse. So that's definitely a problem that will be solved in the new studio, because the house itself has more space, more storage. So I'm going to allocate some dedicated places just to store all that equipment that doesn't need to be on the floor. So the other thing that I have struggled with here, and it's actually something I tried to be good at when I set this up, cable management. Look at this. This thing has been deteriorating at a rapid pace. Every time I add an accessory, USB device, some audio gear, this amplifier, which is DI, so we're running audio here. We've got like data cables, we've got power cables and adapter. And this has sort of been central to everything because my computer's here. And if you just look at this, it's just a crazy mess. Cable management is extremely important when you're building a studio. It's something you should really think about. It's not expensive. It just takes a little bit of thought. Figure out where you're going to run your cables. I mean, if you've got a computer and a microphone and a guitar, it does start to add up as you add in different accessories and things like that. If you don't get control of it early on, it just becomes a really, really big mess. I'm definitely giving some thought to that in the new space for sure. And there's actually something in that space that's going to help me huge. Something that I don't have here. Again, I'll reveal that in the next video. But really, those are the two things that just didn't work here, and I'm going to work really hard to improve upon that in the new space, so look for that. But a couple of tips I just want to share with you guys if you are setting up a studio. None of this matters if it's not set up right. If you just lose inspiration if you spend the first hour of your session cleaning and moving things around. It just doesn't work. It does not work. Trust me on that. Now, it's often said that a home studio is a constant work in progress, but I guess it's safe to say that we've arrived at the finished product, at least for this studio, and that means now tearing it down. But I've learned a lot in this process, and I think that's sort of the thing I want to take away from here. Home studios are a lot of fun if you have the means to do it. If you've got an unlimited budget, you can just drop a bunch of cash and build a studio. I don't know. I mean, certainly if you're doing it for business, that's a different thing. But for many of us, this is a hobby that grows, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. I mean, it's certainly we want all of the best gear, but I think if we bought it all at once, we wouldn't appreciate it. And I certainly appreciate every little piece of gear I have here. I mean, I'm lucky I started the channel and I forged some good relationships with some nice companies, and some of the gear does come in for reviews and I get to keep it. Most of the gear in here I've had to pay for. And I think if you add piece by piece, a little bit at a time, you just really appreciate everything you put in the studio. Every piece has a story. every piece has a place in the studio. I mean, if you're just spending frivolously because you think you need something and it collects dust, I don't think there's any fun in that. Like for me, everything that I put in the studio came out of an idea. Sometimes a good idea, sometimes a bad idea. But I'm really excited about the prospects for the future and the things that I've got planned. And, the new studio will be home base for the next chapter of this journey. But I'm certainly excited about it. And I look forward to bringing you guys along for the ride. And lots more to come. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of this studio vlog. I certainly hope you'll join me for this little journey as we leave the old Redwald studio and move into my new space. I will be revealing some things about the new studio in the next vlog, but really looking forward to this move and bringing you guys along for the ride. Well, if you're new to the channel, I hope I've earned a subscribe. I've got a ton of content on this channel, a lot of it revolving around this home studio and soon to be the next home studio, with things to hopefully help make your home studio life better. So perhaps you can just click that subscribe button and come along for the ride. If you really want to support this channel, I am on Patreon. Links to everything I've discussed and some things I haven't are in the description below. And above all else, I'll see you again in another video.